When you get promoted into leadership, your job fundamentally changes because your success no longer is measured by what you personally produce. It's measured by what becomes possible through other people. And that shift is far more emotionally disorienting than most leaders expect. Because deep down, what we're really asking ourselves is, when I stop being the person producing the work, who exactly am I now? If we haven't met yet, I'm Dr. Alicia Granholm, a leadership strategist with a doctorate in strategic leadership, and I have spent the last 20 years leading teams and helping leaders build organizations that don't depend on one person carrying everything. I know how unsettling feeling disoriented can be. I've traveled the world and spent more time in airports than I can count. Unpopular opinion here, they're one of my favorite places. I know how they work. I can breeze through security lines with a smile, confident and unhurried. But when I started traveling again after the pandemic, I was not prepared for what I found at my home airport. Same building, same check-in counters, same security lines, and yet I felt completely disoriented. I caught myself asking a Delta agent questions, honestly, I'd never had to ask before when traveling. And then when I landed at my destination airport late that night after a mechanical issue on our airplane, I began sweating because it was not clear what my next step was supposed to be. I found myself desperately longing for a sign that said, "You are here," because I felt anything but clear about where I was supposed to go next. That's leadership after a promotion. Same building, different rules, and nobody hands you a map. So here's the core idea I want you to remember. Getting a new title because someone promoted you or because you hired people and promoted yourself means your identity has changed externally. And if it feels disorienting, then we need to make an internal identity change as well. You stopped being paid for what you produce and started getting paid for what your team produces. The hardest part of leadership is that your value stops being measured by what you personally finish. And that means letting go of the type of person who showed up for the work and becoming a new type of person at work. Every time we go through a transition, we have to be able to let go of what was, even if it was good, even if we liked it, but in order to become who we're needed to be for now and into the future. If you want to be as successful in this new role as you were in your previous one, this identity shift is essential. Let's make this practical. Here's a litmus test to see whether this identity shift is already underway for you. If you're still holding on to work that somebody else on your team could be doing, then you haven't yet made that identity shift. And here's why I know this. When you become a leader, your primary role is to work in and through your team by creating conditions to help them succeed. So if you believe that your role as a leader is to help other people succeed, then you're going to hand off the work that you previously did in order to let somebody else take on that responsibility. Because when you let them take on that responsibility, then you're helping them continue to grow and thrive. See, when you continue to hold on to work that somebody else could be doing, I know you haven't made that identity shift yet from doer to the one creating an environment for people to succeed in doing their work. This shift doesn't happen naturally because it requires both a mindset shift, which can happen rather quickly, and also the development of leadership skills that simply have to be learned, and this is going to take a little longer. In his book, Transitions, William Bridges puts it this way: to become something else, you have to stop being what you are now. To start doing things a new way, you have to end the way that you are doing them now. And to develop a new attitude or outlook, you have to let go of the old one you have now. The difficulty comes not from these changes, but from the underlying and more difficult process of letting go of the person you used to be and finding the new person you need to become in the new situation. And every time we step into something new, it triggers the grief cycle. Yes, even when we choose the new thing, we need to end the old way of doing things so we can embrace a new way forward. As so aptly put by Semisonic, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. This is where most high capacity leaders get stuck. You need to embrace this mindset shift. My work is to help others succeed and thrive. Leadership is the moment your success becomes indirect. And here's why we need to start with this mindset shift. Every action you take flows from what you believe. So your leadership behaviors will always expose what you actually believe your role is. So you need to ask yourself, if I truly believe this is my new role, what would the evidence of that belief be in how I show up for my team? When it comes to embracing your leadership identity, then the next step on your journey toward successfully leading others is to take time to reflect on your personal beliefs about what it means to be a leader so that how you lead aligns with them. Here's the truth about leadership. There are a multitude of ways to lead. And as someone who has studied leadership for over 20 years, I can attest that there is no single right way to lead. There are, however, ways to lead that can serve you, your organization, and your team very well. It all depends on what outcome you want as a leader. Because maybe for you, the ends justify the means, or you embrace do no harm as a leadership approach, or you want to eke out the most from your team as is humanly possible. Personally, as a leader, I value achieving great results by engaging my team members' gifts and talents at a sustainable pace and ending my workday with energy for the ones that I love and my hobbies. So when I'm auditing my own leadership presence, these are the questions that I return to regularly to close that gap between the leader I say that I want to be, who I think I believe I am and what I believe about leadership, and the one that I'm actually being. What is my role as a leader? What do I believe about the value of the people on my team? Are our priorities actually clear? Are there areas where my team is coming to me for everything? Does everyone understand how their work contributes to the mission? What's the trust level on our team right now? How sustainable is our pace? How much anxiety is in the system right now? As someone who wants to lead well, I've learned that doing a personal leadership integrity check helps me see areas where my actions are incongruent with what I say I believe about leading well and the type of leader that I want to be. Here's what no one tells high achievers about this identity shift. Your drive doesn't go anywhere. You were promoted because you're efficient, you produce great results, you're driven, you have high standards, you're good at what you do. And that doesn't disappear when you get a new title. But your team cannot sustain the pace you would set for yourself alone. So you don't find another outlet for that drive. One of two things will happen. You'll feel constantly unsatisfied leading at a team pace, or you'll push your team toward burnout trying to satisfy it through them. This is why I've become intentional about finding spaces outside of work where I can own something from start to finish. In this season of my life, this looks like being more intentional about house update projects that I can own and manage myself and experimenting with new hobbies. My personal drive hasn't gone away since becoming a leader, but I've found that because I am now accomplishing goals through others, I need a place for my achievement and energy to go still. My team can't go the pace that I would go alone, but I wouldn't have it any other way because we can go farther together. I'm curious, what's been the most disorienting part of your own leadership transition? Delegation, decision making, fostering collaboration, leading former peers, feeling less productive, not knowing how to measure success anymore? I would genuinely love to hear. So if you can, drop it in the comments below. And if this video was helpful, subscribe because this channel is all about helping high capacity leaders build sustainable leadership systems so everything doesn't keep depending on them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.